Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero podcast, the show where I cover the least in the best way possible. I'm your host, Jason Wells. Today is Wednesday, November 27th. It was a decent week of football. I'm very happy because, well, technically my season starts on Thursday, but we're back in the playoff mix a little bit, us being Miami, of course. But no, we got two running backs on pace for 2,000 plus yards in a year. One of those guys who is definitely in the MVP conversation at the moment. We had a snow game. It was beautiful. We love to see snow games. A few blowouts, a couple big upsets, and a couple big almost upsets. Lots to talk about in this week, obviously. Doing the Week 12 NFL recap, and also giving out some college football highlights. So let's get into the episode. No, it was a relatively okay week in the NFL. The witching hour ended up being pretty good. Couple games that were close that kind of shouldn't have ended up being that close in the end, but it was exciting. It was, again, decent football. The late afternoon window absolutely sucked, and not much to really talk about there, but another week closer to the end of the season. It's almost December now. It'll be December by next week. Crazy. But still no snow on the ground here, which is equally crazy. But no, it was, again, another good week. I guess let's just get right into the episode right now. I'm kind of rambling. So starting off with the college football highlights, Ohio State cruises past undefeated Indiana. They win 38-15. A lot of people kind of saw that coming. Ohio State is Ohio State. Indiana is Indiana until further notice. Still a good team, but they're not Ohio State. Kansas upsets Colorado behind Devin Neal's 287 total yard for TD day. He absolutely crushed it. Colorado's slim chances at the playoffs are all but gone now. Kansas also became the first team in FBS history with a losing record to win 3 straight games versus ranked opponents. That's awesome. That's a cool stat. Army also undefeated no more. They get stomped by Notre Dame 49-14. Army was a good story. I've been talking about them basically all year when I do these highlights, and yeah, just kind of came crashing down. Still a good football team, but they're not making the college football playoff anymore. And speaking of Air Force, or what is it? Not Army academies, but the branches of the military academies. That's what I was going to say. Air Force becomes the first team in FBS history to win a game with 0 passing yards. They won a game with 0 passing yards. That's absolutely insane. Don't know how it happens. Again, it's the first time it's ever happened in history. That's an insane stat. And then finally, back to this Heisman race. Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter. Right now in the odds anyways, Travis Hunter is pulling away. I think last time I looked on the weekend, he was minus 800 to win. Still, a lot can happen. And stop discrediting either one of them. Like, oh, Jeanty's at Boise State, they're playing bums. Oh, Travis Hunter, he's just like a snap count merchant. Both guys are doing elite things at the college level right now. Like truly one of one seasons right now. The award can go to either one of them. I wouldn't care. Again, I got futures on both of them, so I don't really care who it does go to as long as it goes to one of those two. Both guys had big games. I think Jeanty had 169 yards and 2 TDs. Hunter, I think 120-something yards and 2 TDs, but both guys very deserving of the Heisman. I don't really care who wins, but those are the Week 13 college football highlights. That season's almost ending. Couple more games there. And I guess let's get right into the Week 12 NFL recap here. Oh, I did not put any of the scores in for these games. I started doing it and then I didn't do it. So I'm going to pause this, and when I come back, I'll have all the scores actually written down like I'm usually supposed to. Okay, we are back now. I have written down the scores for all of the games, as I should have probably a few hours ago. But starting off with the Monday night game, Ravens 30, Chargers 23. Was Chargers early on. They were getting going. They were up, I believe. I think they were up. No, they were only up 7-0. That's right. But they had a chance to go up 2 scores, go up 10, kick a field goal deep in Ravens territory. They decided to go for it on 4th and 1, and that's kind of where things unraveled for them. But the Ravens, again, prove, and like I kind of knew, that they are the better team, and this Chargers team is a good team, but they're not great on either side of the ball right now, and I think it's just as simple as that. Lamar Jackson, another very good Lamar Jackson game. 16-22, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also added a rushing touchdown. The Ravens are just good. It's as simple as that. Their offense, when it is clicking, it is very hard to stop. And speaking of people who are very hard to stop, Derrick Henry. 24 carries, 140 yards, no touchdowns in this one. So if you bet Derrick Henry 2 TDs or even 1 TD, I don't know why you'd bet him 1 TD because his odds are so low right now. I guess his odds, is it so low or so high when talking about odds? Like when they're like, oh, minus 180 to score like a touchdown. Low odds? I don't know. I'm getting sidetracked here, but Derrick Henry, another, again, spectacular game. He is on pace for, I believe he's on pace for 2,000 plus yards in the season. I'm more than certain he's on pace for 2,000 plus yards this year, which would be the second time of his career. I think that sounds right. Derrick Henry, I mean, he's just, last year it was Gus Edwards. This year they have Derrick Henry, and this offense is just clicking. They look fantastic. Defense, again, no Roquan Smith for them in this one, which was a big loss, but the defense played fine because we're not really worried about the Chargers' offense, especially when J.K. Dobbins goes down and then you have to rely on Gus Edwards to run the ball, and Gus Edwards is not a good running back. He just simply not a good running back, but no, the Ravens, they really took care of business. Little garbage time touchdown for the Chargers at the end. We'll speak about the Chargers a little bit. Again, the team's just not good enough. Losing your starting running back, losing J.K. Dobbins, and hopefully he's not, this isn't like a major knee injury, because it does look like it is a knee injury, though. They're simply not good enough on either side of the ball. Justin Herbert, great player. Ladd McConkey looks like he's going to be a great player. There's a lot of good guys on the defense, too, but neither unit is great. And when you play an offense like the Ravens, and this Chargers team has kind of been dependent on their defense carrying the load a little bit. They went, I think it was up until last week when they played the Bengals, they hadn't allowed 20-plus points in a game all season. Now, back-to-back weeks, they've allowed 30-plus, and look at that, they've lost both games. This really is it's not even a bend-don't-break team. It's just, if the defense plays well, holds the opponent to under 20 points, the Chargers are probably going to win this one, because on offense, it is game-managing type of football, but their defense is not elite enough to continue that. Again, the Chargers' defense statistically is one of the better top 3, top 5 units in the NFL, but you look at their track record, you look at who they've played, haven't played a lot of juggernauts on offense, and I think that's just kind of the story with them. They're still going to make the playoffs. They should still make the playoffs. It would be very funny if they didn't, but they should. They got a matchup against the Broncos in a few weeks. That'll be very telling. But yeah, the Chargers, again, they're a fine, decent team. Let's just leave it at that. Other than that, though, yeah, not much to really say. Oh yeah, no, I was going to talk about the Har Bowl. This was the Har Bowl, and something I didn't know. Actually, I did know, but I only found out a couple months ago, and now I feel like I should be relaying this information to you. Jim Harbaugh, the Chargers head coach, I always thought was the older brother of the two. He is not. John Harbaugh, the Ravens head coach, is the older one. I don't know why I thought Jim was older. I think he just looks a little older. He carries himself like the older brother, but he is in fact the younger brother. I think it is just because he looks older. He does look older than John, simple as that. But I don't know. New information, if you didn't know that. Jim Harbaugh, the youngest of the Harbaugh brothers. Actually, I think they might have a third brother in there. Either way. Out of the ones in the NFL and the ones that we talk about, John Harbaugh is the older brother. Jim is the younger brother. Get that seared in your brains. We can go all the way back to Thursday Night Football now. Steelers at Browns. Steelers 19, Browns 24. And before I get into any actual real NFL talk, we got a snow game. And this was a beautiful, beautiful snow game. This wasn't, oh, there's flurries and the field is still green. This was a true snow game. And the snow came out of nowhere. Going into half, it was just kind of wet, rainy, not nice, and then that full-on turned into a snowstorm. They were shoveling the yard markers and the lines on the field, and that's, again, true snow game. It was so hard. The Steelers were in white uniforms. It was almost impossible to see them on the broadcast. Jameis Winston, again, looked like on his interception, didn't even look like he saw where those guys were, but snow games are incredible, and the Browns are building a new stadium and they're putting a roof on it. And I hate it because we don't get games like this. And there's people out there who talk about, oh, snow games are awful. It's bad football. It is what it is. Snow games are miraculous. They are so much fun to watch from my couch. And I'm specifying from my couch because, yeah, I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be watching those two teams play in bad, cold weather. Like, of course not. But from my couch, visually, it is beautiful. It is the way the game should be played. And if you are a team up north who gets snow, you shouldn't be allowed to build a dome. The Bills aren't doing it. People are mad at the Bills for not doing it, but the Bills aren't doing it. Hey, I could change my tune very early as next week because I am going to the Bills-Niners Sunday Night Football game, and it's supposed to be cold. And we'll see if I change my attitude then, but snow games are great. Snow games are absolutely great, and probably 50 years from now, there will not be any more snow games. And that might just be because of climate change, or it might just be because every team is going to be in a dome at that point. But now let's talk about this actual game. Start off with the Browns, start off with the winning side. The difference that Jameis Winston has made for this team since coming in has been incredible. Again, you get the good and the bad Jameis Winston, but he tries his ass off. Like, he wants to win. He's kind of like Baker Mayfield in that way. I think Baker Mayfield's a much better quarterback, obviously, but in terms of like willingness to do what it takes to win, Jameis is right up there. Again, I said he threw that interception. He was the first one down there to try to tackle that guy. That shows heart. That shows dedication. Also added a rushing touchdown, which was also, again, a beautiful rushing touchdown. He got smoked going into the end zone, but Jameis wants it more. And when Jameis wants it, he won't take no for an answer. He literally won't take no for an answer in some cases. But, yeah, good game. Jerry Jeudy is kind of having a mini breakout. He had a great game last week, another 6 catches, 85 yards in this one. Nick Chubb, I kind of predicted a big Nick Chubb game. Wasn't great, only averaged 3 yards per carry, but he did have 2 touchdowns on the day, which was big for fantasy for me anyways. But again, when it's an AFC North divisional game, throw out the record books because it doesn't really matter with these two teams. Browns get a big win and kind of knock the Steelers back down to earth just a little bit. Steelers on the other side. Russ played fine. He had that very nice touchdown to Calvin Austin late in the game to kind of close in the lead a little bit. Or was that to take the lead? I forget. The game was so long ago. There's been a lot that's happened in the last few days. But this is just, again, I'm not believing in the Steelers when they have to play like a good team. Like I refuse to put the Steelers up there with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens, even though they beat the Ravens, the Eagles and they're in that tier 2 group of teams where I'd put like the Vikings and the Chargers and maybe even the Dolphins at this point. Maybe, I don't know. Najee Harris couldn't get anything running on the ground. Jaylen Warren looks like the better running back. It is what it is. Pickens couldn't really get going either, which is always tough for them. I don't know. Like, the Steelers are fine. I think, and part of the Steelers' issues in this one, they tried to get Justin Fields way too involved for some reason. They put him in for few rushing plays, one passing play, like obviously like to be a decoy, and like when it's snowing out there and a more mobile quarterback is more of your friend, I guess. I mean, the Browns even put DTR in for a play. I don't know why. But they had an opportunity where it would have been perfect for one of those Russ Moon balls going to George Pickens, and Justin Fields threw it out of bounds to Pickens. And either way, I'm not losing it on the Steelers, but I don't buy into the Steelers being a good team, and I never have. They are what they are. Their defense is great. The offense, it is what it is. But we can move on now. On to the Sunday games now. Bucks 30, Giants 7. I talked about Baker Mayfield a little bit already. Baker Mayfield is fucking awesome. Whether it's making tackles off his own interceptions, which I don't actually think that happened in this one, but this is because I talked about it with the Jameis thing, but Baker Mayfield gives this team so much juice and so much, like, oomph. I guess that's the way to describe it. Because this, like, again, it's not a talented team. I don't think it's a great coach team, but Baker Mayfield is a difference maker for this Bucks team, and I think that this Bucks team does have an outside chance to still win the division, even though the Falcons did beat them twice already, which you would think that would be enough, but I don't know. The Bucks look good. They got Mike Evans back. Mike Evans kind of slowly easing back. Didn't really have to do much. The Giants sucked, and we'll talk about the Giants in a bit here. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, that was the thing I was thinking of. Bucky Irving had his longest run of his career, I believe, and who was leading the downfield blocking? Baker Mayfield. Like, that's the kind of guy that you should want to be your quarterback. Again, a guy who wants to win no matter what it takes. He will do the dirty work, even though he probably shouldn't. The Bucks are a fun team. Bucky Irving looks like a very, very good running back. He's one of those guys in the offseason and during like the draft process where like the tape and the film on him looked really good. He looked like a do-it-all back, looked elusive, and then he did the testing at the combine, and it was like, this guy's not that great of an athlete. And sometimes like the testing at the combine versus like the film, you obviously have to take into account like his measurables and the athleticism, but sometimes it's just trust what your eyes are seeing on the field, and that is a very good case for Bucky Irving. I don't think he had a touchdown in this one. I think Sean Tucker got the goal line touches for him. Rachaad White kind of getting not involved more and more, which I think is the right thing to do. The defense on the other side, Vita Vea, is just wrecked havoc. Again, that's what he does. Him and Kalijah Kancey are a very good interior defensive line duo. They're very happy to have both of them playing very high-level football. And yeah, the Giants on the other side. This is a team that is just flat out given up. I think I said it on Thursday's show, but a lot of players were upset over the benching of Daniel Jones, and now since he's been cut. And Daniel Jones was the best quarterback on that roster still, but I guess Giants are in full tank mode, but the players did not play good football. Plain and simple, the offensive line got abused, the defense was nowhere to be seen, and this was a Bucks team that didn't have Tristan Wirfs in this one, so you would think that, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, like they would have been getting Baker like a little off kilter? No. The Bucks were absolutely fine. This Giants team is playing for nothing. Brian Dable and Joe Shane, I don't even know if they have jobs. John Mara a few weeks ago said that, yep, their jobs are safe, don't worry. I don't even know at this point. The Giants are complete disarray. They're definitely tanking. Tommy DeVito stinks. Just plain and simple. It was a nice 1 week thing. Get Drew Lock in there. Like, truly, just put Drew Lock in. Let's see what happens. Another bad move by the Giants in this one. Tyrone Tracy fumbles in the red zone, which obviously sucks. You can't fumble. But then he gets benched. And I'm like, why are you benching one of your young rookies when the season doesn't matter? Why? Who cares? Keep either way. The Giants are a mess right now. Total dumpster fire. More of a dumpster fire than their other brother in New York City, or I guess I should say East Rutherford. Probably not. But they're a dumpster fire nonetheless. Next game up here, Lions-Colts. Lions 24, Colts 6. The Lions just continue to do it. Every single week, they are absolutely incredible. And usually I talk about the offense and all the nice things that they do. But we got to talk about this defense. And mainly, we got to talk about defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, who is also putting on a clinic. Ben Johnson is the Lions coach that gets a lot of the love, and it's like, oh, he's going to be coaching where next year? He can pick any spot he wants to go. Aaron Glenn is more the Dan Campbell archetype, former player, rah-rah guy, but his unit right now is tremendous. It was great at the start of the year with Aiden Hutchinson, and the secondary was the secondary is had its growing pains at the start of the year, mainly Tyrion Arnold, but Aiden Hutchinson goes down, and this defense is continuing to be one of the best units in the NFL. I got some crazy defensive stats for the Giants here. They have allowed 0 touchdowns in 10 straight quarters. That's crazy. 0 touchdowns allowed in consecutive games for the first time since 1999. That's nuts. 0 second half points in 3 straight games. And they have outscored opponents in those second halves 53-0. And this is, again, without Aiden Hutchinson. I think Tyrion Arnold was also out in this one. And they put up numbers regardless. This Lions team is going to be so hard to play against. But Aaron Glenn deserves a lot of that credit. He is in my top 5 coaching candidates for the offseason. Aaron Glenn will definitely be in the top 5. He definitely deserves all the praise and recognition that Ben Johnson also gets. So shout out to this Lions defense. They are playing phenomenal. Shout out to Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Great. I guess Brian Branch isn't technically a safety, but either way, they're all playing great. And yeah, I will talk about the offense just a little bit. Sonic and Knuckles, David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs continue to do it again. Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 touchdowns in this one. David Montgomery, 1 touchdown. And they are the first duo in NFL history in back-to-back seasons to have 10 touchdowns each. That's special. That is very special football from those two men. I saw someone tweet out, too, that, they're the only, fantasy running back duo that they're fine either way. Usually when, fantasy-wise, it's you see 2 good running backs on the same roster, you kind of avoid that backfield because it really is one week it'll be this guy, the next week it'll be that. With Sonic and Knuckles, it's every week they are both producing very, very good running back 1 numbers. Lions are crazy. They will be a very hard team to stop. Simple as that. Best team in football right now until they aren't. Colts on the other side. If you want to look at the box score, you can say, oh, Anthony Richardson didn't have a good game. But what the box score doesn't tell you is there was a drop TD. There was an incomplete dime on the sideline that I think it was Ashton Doolin just couldn't keep both feet in. Would have been fairly easy to get both feet in, but he chose not to. And then gains of 30, 21, 21, and 7 yards, all taken away by penalties. The Colts really do it to themselves at this point. I think Anthony Richardson is playing great football. Again, the stats don't show that he's playing great football. I mean, last week was fantastic, but he's so good. He is so hard to bring down. There is multiple instances in this game where, whether it be Aleem McNeil or DJ Reader or Zadarius Smith, like some Lions player getting a hand on him behind the line of scrimmage and him just shrugging it off like it's nothing. The guy's an animal. The guy's a beast. But he can't do it himself. And this Colts team continuously lets him down time after time. Jonathan Taylor has not looked great in the last few weeks either, and that is a big part of their offense, is getting that running game going. And if Jonathan Taylor can't run the ball, then at this point anyways, you can't rely on Anthony Richardson to be like a pure passer. That running game does need to get going if they need to click. But now all of a sudden the AFC South is, wouldn't say up for grabs because the Texans still have like a clear lead on that division, but it's more vulnerable than it was at this point last week. So we can keep going and we can talk about the Texans here. But Titans 32, Texans 27, and we'll start off from the Titans because they did win this game. Will Levis is playing some good, like even really good football the last few weeks, which is weird to say. Like that start of the season, it wasn't even like bad plays from Will Levis. It was the most back-breaking, bone-crushing stuff from him. It's not good. And now it looks like maybe this is your quarterback, which is crazy because I know that I clipped out, would have been probably over a month ago at this point, that like, hey, Titans, you can move on. Will Levis isn't the guy. This isn't a bad thing to know that he's not the guy. But at this point, I still don't believe in him to be like he can be the franchise guy, but at least he will be quarterbacking your team probably next year anyways. I don't know if the Titans will be bad enough to land one of these quarterbacks, and I don't think any of these quarterbacks are really that great anyways compared to Will Levis, but Titans are playing good. Their defense is playing hard. T'Vondre Sweat got his first sack of his career. He's been a monster. That team, again, trending in the right direction, and that's what you want, and that's big for the Titans. Also, shout out to Nick Westbrook-Akine. He has 6 touchdowns since week 6, which is the 3rd best in the NFL from that time. Crazy. He's a decent player, but yes, 6 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks. Shout out to him. Shout out for the Titans for getting this win. Texans on the other side. CJ Stroud does his best Dan Orlovsky impression, getting a safety, sprinting out the back of the end zone. Wasn't as bad as Dan's because at least CJ was sprinting out trying to get away from a sack and did end up getting sacked, but he stepped out before that where Orlovsky just literally ran out the back. That's one of the worst plays in NFL history. But the sophomore slump for CJ Stroud is absolutely nuts. People, and I'll include myself in this group, actually, I'm not going to put myself in with this group, but there were people in the offseason being like, oh, CJ Stroud, top 5 quarterback. CJ Stroud, favorite for MVP next year. Like, already one of the best quarterbacks in football. And CJ Stroud had a very, very good rookie year. No one can take that away from him. But the hype wasn't unwarranted, but it was too much hype. And now, for a myriad of reasons, a lot of them injury-related, the offensive line has taken a major step back. But CJ Stroud, over this last month, I would say, has probably looked like the worst QB from his class. And yes, that's including Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. CJ Stroud has not looked like the guy. And all of those guys have also been playing great football, while CJ Stroud is just playing very, very okay football. He's not playing bad. He's fine. I would still trust him to be my franchise quarterback for the next however many years. But the anointing of him and the Texans as this team Super Bowl favorite, he's the MVP favorite, it was too much. It was too much. I mean, Texans fans went from a few weeks ago, a Bobby Slowick being like, oh, hot name in head coaching circles, to Texans fans wanting Bobby Slowick fired. That's not good. The defense has also not looked great. Jalen Petrie left the game with an injury in this one. I'll talk more about that on Thursday's show. Nico Collins had a touchdown. Woo, he's back, but Texans should still make the playoffs because they do have such a big lead over everyone else in that division. I think the closest team to catching them is the Colts, but like the Falcons over the Bucs, the Texans already have those 2 wins over them, so it'll be very, very hard for them. But the Texans need some kind of bounce back, some kind of fight in them, because they haven't looked like a good team all year, if we're being completely honest. They've played some good football, but I think they've played a lot more bad football than good football so far this year, and I think it's just kind of catching up to them at this point. Next week, I would assume, would be a big bounce-back week for the Texans. I have no idea, though. I don't even know how they play. That's all for Thursday's show. Next game up here, Patriots 15, Dolphins 34. That was easy. Ridiculously easy. Was a little nerve-wracking at the start. Ooh, the Patriots went up 3-0. I'm so scared. They're a bad team. It's as simple as that. And I'll talk about the Patriots more in a bit. But Tua, excellent game using everyone. Waddle also, welcome to the 2024 NFL season. He had the best game of... might have been the best game of his career, but what were his final stats? Because I'm looking at them now. 8 catches, 144 yards, and a TD. Jonnu Smith continues to be, I don't know, fucking fantastic. 9 catches, 87 yards, and a TD. Achan doing his thing. He's looking great. Yeah, I don't know. This offense, we're rolling. We're looking really good. Tua's playing great football. Have we played the toughest defenses the last few weeks? Absolutely not. But I don't care. We're winning football games right now. The defense is playing great. Zach Seiler, Calais Campbell. Like, that interior defense line duo is incredible. And they have been life-saving for the Dolphins defense at some points this year. But I'm going to do it again. Shout out to Chop Robinson. The best game of his young career so far. Sack and a half in this one. He was whooping on, I think it was Vidarian Lowe, their right tackle. I could be wrong. Either way, Chop was whooping them. Everyone was whooping them. This was, again, it was an easy win. We did exactly what we needed to do. Season starts on Thursday, as I've said, basically all year. I mean, it was a little doom and gloom there early on in the year, but we're back on track. Our back half of the schedule looks a lot easier than it did at the start of the year. I'm a believer in the Dolphins, but it all starts on Thursday. Patriots on the other side. If your name is not Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, or Christian Barmore, you are useless, and the Patriots don't need to. Obviously, there are a couple other guys in that mix who, are good players, and they'll be on the team, whatever, but Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, those are your 3 building block pieces. Everyone else, other than that, expendable to some degree. The Patriots suck. Plain and simple. Drake May, I saw a lot of wow plays from Drake May and stuff that scares me as a team in this division that has to go against him for, I don't know, the next decade plus. Drake May looks very, very good. The rest of the Patriots, very, very, very bad. I think it's as simple as that. I have nothing really to say about the Patriots. Christian Gonzalez got a defensive touchdown because we decided to put Skylar Thompson in because the game was so out of hand, and Skylar Thompson immediately fumbles the football. Scoop and soar for Gonzo. That's why they scored more than 10 points. Not a good game from the Patriots. But again, the Patriots just aren't a good team. So we can keep going. Next game up here, Cowboys 34, Commanders 26. Don't be fooled by that score. This game stunk. This was not a good football game up until the last 5 minutes, I would say. And the last 5 minutes were some of the most entertaining football we've seen all year. But the other 90% of this game, awful, bad football. It was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter, and we ended up with a score 34-26. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, started off with... I don't even know where to begin. We can start with the Terry McLaurin long touchdown to kind of get them... Oh, no, was that... I'm kind of losing my place here because I'm trying to think of when Kevontae Turpin had his kick return TD, and I guess I'll just start off with that. But Kevontae Turpin, another big play for the Cowboys in this one, but initially bobbles the kick return, picks up the ball, and it's like, oh, this is huge for the Commanders. They're gonna stop them deep in territory. They'll maybe get a ball chance to win. I don't know, but yeah, Turpin picks it up. Hits a nasty spin move, looks like 7 defenders miss, and he's gone, takes it to the house. Commanders get the ball. Jordan Lewis just decides to not cover Terry McLaurin for whatever reason. Would have been an easy pick by him if he just took like 2 steps backwards, but Jaden Daniels drops it right over him. Terry McLaurin does the rest. Touchdown. And then kicker Austin Seibert misses the extra point to tie the game. Would have been sending it to overtime. And then Commanders kick it off, onside kick, and I don't know who it was. I think his last name was Thomas, but guy on the Cowboys gets the ball, runs back the kick return, which if he just would have caught it, fell down, game's over. Commanders win, but no, they set up the Commanders with a chance to have another Hail Mary miraculous win late, but the Cowboys did prevail. But again, it was sloppy, not good football. Cooper Rush looked, again, I think Cooper Rush is a decent, solid backup, and that's what he continues to look like a decent, solid backup. Micah Parsons was doing his Micah Parsons thing. CeeDee Lamb is not getting used like CeeDee Lamb anymore because no one can really get him the ball. So he's getting the ball on slants and drags and jet sweeps, just anything to get the ball in his hands, really, which isn't a bad offensive idea, but you can't use CeeDee Lamb like that. Who are we kidding? Commanders on the other side, you can't lose this game. I think they were 10.5 point favorites. And I really am. I'm kicking myself for talking myself out of the Cowboys during the show last week. But Commanders stink. Again, like I talked, it was like, oh, Bobby Slowick in the head coaching circles. Cliff Kingsbury. People are talking about, oh, Cliff Kingsbury may be getting another job as an NFL head coach again after what he's done so far this season. He's not good. Everything is a screen pass. Everything is... Shut up with Cliff Kingsbury. He sucks. The Commanders, again, I'm fading them this whole second half. And I will continue to do that, regardless of who they play, because they just showed me that even a shitty team like the Cowboys can beat them. And it makes me easy. And that makes it really easy to bet on, or to bet against them going forward. But that's that game. Next game up here, Vikings 30, Bears 27. This game went to overtime. The Vikings, they won. Again, was relatively easy for them. Sam Darnold, another good game, 22 of 34, 330 yard, 2 passing touchdowns. Looked like he might have left the game with an injury. Nick Mullins comes in, 1 for 1, 14 yards. Darnold obviously goes back in, but Justin Jefferson, I think this was the big story. Justin Jefferson, only 2 catches for 27 yards, and the Bears did such a good job bottling him up. They really didn't. There was a couple plays where he was wide open and Sam Darnold just didn't throw the ball in, but it doesn't matter when Aaron Jones has 22 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown, or Jordan Addison has 8 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown, or, when TJ Hawkinson has 7 catches for 114 yards. That's 3 guys who all had 100 plus yards on the day. Doesn't matter if you're not throwing to Justin Jefferson, because this Vikings team has weapons across the board. They did their job. They did exactly what they needed to do. Andrew Van Ginkel adds another sack. Jonathan Grenard, 2 sacks in this one. But credit where credit's due for the Bears. They looked like they were coming back. Caleb Williams had one of his better games as a pro, 32 of 47 for 340 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Also added 33 yards rushing on the ground. The leading rusher on the day for them was Caleb Williams. And this Brian Flores blitz-heavy team, they weren't able to do that because Caleb was working his magic in the pocket, making guys miss, hitting guys where they're open. DJ Moore, another big game. It's been night and day, this offense anyways, with how they've looked post Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron should never work in the NFL again. After misusing DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Tyler Lockett last year, he did the exact same thing again with DJ Moore, Romo Dunze, and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had another good game too, 9 catches, 86 yards, and a TD. It's shameful what Shane Waldron did, but unfortunately, not all the bad coaching has left. Matt Eberflus, bad mistakes. Some really bad mistakes. Challenged a play early on just because it was a big play. There was nothing really to challenge, but he decided to waste one of his timeouts to make a useless challenge. Their defense in overtime was playing prevent defense, and the Vikings just dink and dunk down the field until they got in the field goal range and kicked a field goal. It was almost like Matt Eberflus didn't know that they just needed a field goal to win this game. I like what I'm seeing from the Bears overall-wise, but my God, do they need a culture builder in that team, in that locker room. Mike Vrabel would be my choice of head coach for that team if I was the GM or I was picking, but I don't know where they're going to go. They're probably going to want to go with an offensive guy to pair up with Caleb Williams. Maybe that's Ben Johnson. Maybe it's Joe Brady, the Bills offensive coordinator. But the Bears have, it's been the past 4 weeks where the Bears were like in contention to win these games, and whether it be coaching or just mental mistakes in general, it's mainly just coaching. This Bears team could be firmly in the playoff race if it weren't for a couple of those losses, but here we are. They're not going to make the playoffs. Everyone should be fired, in my opinion, and we can move on. But Caleb Williams is the guy, and that's what Bears fans should be happy about. You have your quarterback for the foreseeable future anyways. Is Caleb Williams going to... No, he's not going to throw for 4,000 yards. Never mind. Maybe next year, Caleb. Next game up here. Chiefs 30. Panthers 27. This game was way closer than it needed to be. Way closer than it should have been. Shout out to the Panthers. I'll talk about the Panthers in a little bit here, but the Chiefs. Chiefs squeak one out against the lowly Panthers, and I've seen a lot of the national media guys being like, I don't know about this Chiefs team. It's not feeling right. It's not... You can go back to basically exactly this time last year where everyone was saying the same thing. I don't know if the Chiefs are going to flip that switch. I don't know. Their offense is where the defense isn't playing that great. It does not matter. I am telling you 100%, it does not matter. Wait until the Chiefs get into the playoffs. Wait until these newer pieces that they've added in, guys like DeAndre Hopkins, wait till they get Pacheco back. Wait till they get Hollywood Brown back. They're going to be a very good team like they always are in the playoffs, and this doesn't matter. They're 10-1. I do not care that they played a close game against the Panthers. The Chiefs are the Chiefs until they are not the Chiefs. It's the same as the Patriots, and 10 years ago when the Patriots were in the middle of their dynasty, or their second dynasty, I should say, I would have been the one being like, the Patriots aren't that good. But that's because I was a child and I was a hater. If you don't think the Chiefs are a good team right now, regardless of how close they play opponents and how Pat Mahomes has really turned it on for at least like the last month and a bit of the season, the start of the year, he did not look good. I don't care if he's won back-to-back Super Bowls. The Chiefs are awesome. I don't care if they play close games. The Chiefs are going to continue doing Chiefs things. It's fine. They are good. Shout out to Noah Gray. 2 touchdowns in this one for him. Maybe tight end number 1? Doubtful. But it's good that they do have another guy who can get more involved. Xavier Worthy getting more involved. I have a bet with Chew going on right now that DeAndre Hopkins won't have 800 yards for the season, which I don't know why they're only showing his Chief stats, which is really annoying, and not his like overall stats for this year. But he's got. I need a big game from. I need a big game from Hopkins. At some point anyways, because I think our number that was like 800, and right now he's at 400 yards. There's 6 games left in the season. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 6 games left in the season. He needs 400 yards. It's doable, but I need some big games from Hopkins relatively soon anyways. Panthers on the other side. This was by far Bryce Young's best game of his career. The Panthers, I don't know if it was warranted trading all of those assets, losing out on Caleb Williams, but Bryce Young went from being a disaster compared to Jamarcus Russell to you have an NFL quarterback. And now it looks like, you might have a pretty good NFL quarterback. Like, the growth from Bryce Young over the course of this last year and a half, basically, has been tremendous. It's been great. He's playing great football, and I think that they had 7 scoring drives against the Chiefs, which is absolutely unbelievable. And they joined the Bengals and the Bills this year as the only teams to have scored 25-plus points on this Chiefs defense. That's very good company, and it's not like he's throwing to great weapons either. David Moore was their leading receiver. If you don't know who David Moore is, that's very fair. I think he played on the Seahawks to start his career. Yeah, he played 6 years on the Seahawks. Oh, no, those were rushing stats. He played 3 years on the Seahawks, 1 for the Broncos, 1 for the Bucks, and he was their leading receiver. Adam Thielen was back in this one. Sure, Xavier Leggett looks like a good young option, hopefully. The guy who I'm really excited about, at least on this Panthers team, as a legit receiving option is tight end Jatavian Sanders. He unfortunately left the game on a stretcher in this one, but he consistently looked like the best option that Bryce was throwing to when he was throwing to him. And again, unfortunately, he left the game with an injury, and I hope that he's okay. But it steps in the right direction, and it's what you want to see, at least from the defense. Who fucking cares about the defense? Like, if we're really being honest, it's not a good unit. They are really missing Derek Brown a ton. But since who was the guy? Because Grenard went there, and then DJ Wanham. Since DJ Wanham has been back, the defense has been playing with a little more oomph. And it's been good to see. Still not a great defense, obviously, but at least the Panthers have some fight in them, which is nice to see. But really, this is the story of Bryce Young and how he went from, again, being compared to Jamarcus Russell to looking like a pretty good NFL quarterback. That's crazy, but shout out to the Panthers for keeping this one close. We can move on to this bad late afternoon slate, starting off with the Broncos and Raiders. Broncos 29, Raiders 19. Where did my notes go? There are my notes. I don't know. Bo Nix continues to play really good football, and I was kind of hoping going into this one that maybe the Raiders could, I don't know, get a little bit of a lead. But I think that the Raiders are going to continue to play really good football, and I was kind of hoping going into this one that maybe the Raiders could, I don't know, somehow knock him off his game a little bit, and Brock Bowers continues to do his Brock Bowers thing, and then that maybe would sway the Rookie of the Year voting a little bit. But right now, Bo Nix is firmly the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion. Jane Daniels this last month has not been playing good football. Not even great football, hasn't been playing good football, while Bo Nix has been absolutely unbelievable. It's really weird to say, but Bo Nix has been great. And I saw someone tweet out that, Bo Nix is on his Mac Jones arc right now, and I don't hate that take. But as of right now, Bo Nix is playing great football, just like Mac Jones was his rookie year. We'll see in year 2. There's a lot of football still left to play, but the Broncos just keep winning. And I talked about it a little bit last week, but this Broncos offensive line, some of the highest, I think it's the highest paid offensive line in the league, with guys like Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Luke Wadenberg, the center. He's not paid. I think he's a rookie, but not a rookie, but either way, on his rookie contract. Quinn Miners, and then Mike McGlinchey. They're the best. They're one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. I think their pressure rate is, what was it? I think they're at 12%, and then second is the Chiefs at 15%. Bo Nix has all the time in the world to throw right now, which is a big help. I talked about it already, but if you have a good offensive line, it just makes things a lot easier. Unfortunately, one of those things isn't the run game, because the run game still stinks for the Broncos. They need to find a running back. They need to find a running back badly. But shout out to Courtland Sutton. 8 catches, 97 yards, 2 TDs. I think I even talked about it's you shouldn't be worried about you just have to focus on Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton is a very underrated wide receiver in this league. Very underrated wide receiver 1. He's playing very good football. Bo Nix is playing very good football. The Broncos are just playing very good football. The defense continues to do what they've been doing. Pretty easy to do against the Raiders, but whatever. Yeah, Raiders on the other side. Brock Bowers couldn't get going. This was the Jacoby Myers game. 10 catches, 121 yards. But the one thing I will say about Brock Bowers is why does this keep doing this? Bowers passes Jerry Rice for most receptions in his first 11 games as a Raider, with 74. Jerry Rice was 40 when he hit that mark. 40-year-old Jerry Rice, one of the Raiders' best receivers ever. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. I don't know. The Raiders, you're a bad team. You're a really shitty team. Yeah, I think it's as easy as that. Really. Gardner Minshew, broken collarbone. He's out for the season. Desmond Ridder time, I guess. You don't want to be hearing that, but yeah, Desmond Ridder might be a starting quarterback for the rest of the year. Crazy. Not a bad thing, though, if you really want that number 1 overall pick, which a couple teams in line for it right now, but I think the Giants are in the driver's seat, and then the Raiders are second overall right now, but we will see. The Raiders suck. I don't need to spend much more time on them. Next game here, Cardinals 6, Seahawks 16. Another not very good game, really, from either teams. This was, again, it was 1 touchdown from Jackson Smith and Jigba. Lots of field goals. Shout out to the Seahawks defense. They played very, very well. This is a very good unit. Mike McDonald is maybe going to have them playing really good football down this backstretch. And the NFC West is absolutely wide open right now. I think, let me go to the standings quickly here. Because I think, the Seahawks are leading that division at 6-5, tied with the Cardinals at 6-5. Then the Rams are 5-6, and the Niners are 5-6. Division is completely wide open. Let's make that clear. But the Seahawks are firmly, they're in the driver's seat right now, and that's what you want. They are playing decent football. Again, the defense is playing well. I'd like to see a little bit more from the offense. But the only thing I really have to talk about from the Seahawks side is Jackson Smith and Jigba. It looks like he has broken out. He is here. I won't say he's the best receiver on the Seahawks yet, but he has definitely taken over from Tyler Lockett in his role anyways, and he is firmly 1A, 1B with DK Metcalf here. But in his last 3 games, it's been 7 catches, 180 yards, and 2 TDs, 10 catches, 110 yards, and then 6 catches, 77 yards, and 1 TD. In this one, he's really, really fucking good. And don't take it from me, but listen to his former Ohio State teammates, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson Jr., who are both excellent NFL receivers, and they both said that JSN is better than them. He's good. He's good. A lot of people were kind of doubting him, and he's just kind of I don't even know. But JSN, he has hit his breakout. He's a very good receiver. This Seahawks team is dangerous when they want to be. Unfortunately, they don't want to be dangerous a lot of the time, but they come away with the win in this one. That's big. Cardinals on the other side, just disaster, really. This run game that has looked like a force all year got absolutely bitched. James Conner, 7 carries for 8 yards. That's terrible. Trey Benson only got 4 carries for 18. It is what it is. Shout out to Trey McBride. He continues to have an absolutely incredible season for a tight end, or just incredible season in general. Shouldn't caveat it with a tight end, but 12 catches, 133 yards, no touchdowns, as is tradition for Trey McBride, who has not had a touchdown catch so far this season, even though I think he's on pace for like 1,200 yards. That would be crazy if he doesn't have a touchdown. Kyler threw an absolutely terrible interception that was more of a really great play from Devin Witherspoon, who I should have shouted at him out when talking about the Seahawks, but it was 4th and 1. They run the read option. Kyler pulls the ball from James Conner, and Witherspoon has the reaction speed to see that he pulled the ball and to 180 himself, go in the other direction, able to run in stride step for step with Kyler, forcing Kyler to try to make a play with a throw, and bad interception, ended up being a pick 6. Did they go for 2 or something then? I don't know. I don't really care. Maybe they went for 2 twice, and they got it once. That might have made sense. Either way. It was not good from, I was expecting kind of a big, not bounce back, but a big game on offense. I do think that this Cardinals offense, they have the pieces anyways. Marv definitely needs to get involved just a little bit more, in my opinion, but it's a good offense, just not in this one. Shout out to the Seahawks defense for really keeping them in check. Next game up here, Packers 38, Niners 10. This was a loss as soon as the game started. No Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa, no Charvarius Ward, no Trent Williams. Of course, the Packers are going to roll them. And yeah, the Packers looked good. Talk about another running back who has moved teams in the offseason. Josh Jacobs, 26 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns for him in this one. He's been rejuvenated. He goes from a shitty Raiders team to a very good Packers team, and all of a sudden, he's still playing really well. Of course, it's Josh Jacobs. The one, the stat and people have been rolling with is the Giants, Titans, and Raiders really regret letting go these 3 running backs, and it's all 3 of those teams sucked last year, and all 3 of those teams suck this year. Regardless of if those 3 guys would have stayed on those teams, they would not have been difference makers because those teams are just that bad. That's kind of how this works. Derrick Henry, Saquon are having career years because they are on very, very good offenses. I won't say Josh Jacobs is having a career year because season 2 seasons ago was incredible for the Raiders, but again, he's living up to his potential. And yeah, again, the Packers didn't really have to try in this one. Simple as that. I don't know. I don't really have anything on the Packers. The Packers just whooped them. They took care of business. It was fairly easy. Brandon Allen did his best, I guess. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey has not looked like CMC since he's come back. He's just looked very okay. Kittle tried his best to do what he needed to do. This, again, I'm happy that the Niners got this game out of the way, because I swear to God, if I paid to go watch a night winter game in Buffalo and I will be subject to Brandon Allen as the quarterback, I'm going to be very, very mad at the 49ers. I don't care if he's actually hurt. Put Brock Purdy in. You're still only one game out of the division lead. A big win in Buffalo helps that. I think the Bills right now are 7-point favorites. That should shift if Brock Purdy does go in, but Niners have a lot to figure out. And I still believe in the Niners just because I've seen this team be a very good football team over the last few years, and they still have the pieces to be a very good football team. But right now, they just flat out stink. So we can move on. And finally, Sunday night game, Eagles 37, Rams 20. Saquon Barkley for MVP. I was getting ready for a bit to post where it would have been Saquon Barkley is the clear-cut offensive player of the year, no doubt in my mind. And then he goes and puts up 255 yards in this one. The man is a monster. It is absolutely incredible what he's doing. He has hit a career mark on rushing yards already this season, and he still has 6 games left. He is on pace to break Eric Dickerson's rushing yards record. Saquon for MVP is definitely a real conversation that needs to be had. The fatigue over Lamar Jackson is definitely real. He won an MVP last year where it wasn't that great, and if someone is putting up these types of numbers, these Saquon type numbers, you have to put him into consideration. I forget how many touchdowns Saquon does have on the season. I know it's 10 plus right now. He could have another 7 because Jalen Hurts steals all of his touchdowns. Which would be absolutely insane. We could be talking about that Saquon Barkley has almost 1,400 yards so far and almost 20 touchdowns on the season with 6 games left to go. But Jalen Hurts has to steal all of his goal line touches away. But regardless, Saquon Barkley for MVP is definitely a real conversation that needs to happen because he's playing out of his mind football. I know when Derrick Henry was having his big games, and Derrick Henry is still fantastic and definitely neck and neck with him for Offensive Player of the Year right now. But there was conversations of Derrick Henry is going into the NFL Hall of Fame, and it's when will the next running back be there? Saquon Barkley behind this Eagles offensive line and in this Eagles offense, he could. If he wins an MVP, he puts another really 3 more very productive years behind the Eagles. I don't know what his numbers are at now, and I don't know what his numbers will look like in the next 5 years, but I think Saquon Barkley has a better chance to make the Hall of Fame than Christian McCaffrey does. That might be crazy. That might be a knee-jerk reaction because I think Saquon Barkley does have a very good chance to win the MVP, but that's just kind of how I feel right now. Other things to talk about in this game. Shout out to defensive lineman Milton Williams for the Eagles. He's playing very, very good football. Obviously, Jalen Carter is the driving force on that defense. But Milton Williams has been playing very good football. He is a free agent this offseason. Someone is going to give that man a bag, and he absolutely deserves it. I don't know. The Eagles just keep rolling, people. I would say that the Eagles are the most talented team in the NFL. But again, I don't trust the coaching, and the coaching hasn't mattered in the last few weeks. But at some point, and at some point will probably be in the playoffs, Nick Sirianni is going to do some insanely dumb things that's going to hurt this team, and that will be that. I saw Nick Sirianni too in his first, I don't know how long he's been there, but like his winning percentage right now is up there with some of like the all-time great coaching legends, which hurts me as an NFL fan to see Nick Sirianni be included with guys like Vince Lombardi and Don Shula, but record-wise, that's where Nick Sirianni is right now. Again, I don't believe in Nick Sirianni. The only coach on that staff that I really believe in is Vic Fangio, and I think Fangio, that defense is so talented in general. Like, they're a little bit hurt, but like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Nakobe Dean, and Zach Bond, and then Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, Cooper DeJean, Chauncey Gardner-John. Like, they got talent everywhere on this team, and they are such a good team. But coaching scares me, and it should. It should scare you. Nick Sirianni, again, not a good coach. I am still on the same. I don't care that the Eagles are 10-1, or are they 10-1, 9-2, whatever. Nick Sirianni, not a good coach. I don't care about his record. Plain and simple. Rams on the other side, they were keeping it close, keeping it relatively close, but again, could not stop the run. Saquon Barkley is very hard to stop, and I give the young Rams defensive line a lot of credit. They did look pretty good. They made a couple flash plays. I mean, Jared Verse ran over Jordan Mailata, and Jordan Mailata is like 6'8", 330. He is a hard man to just bull rush and run over and pancake. Jared Verse in his rookie year did that. That is absolutely fantastic. Brady Fisk joins Shaq Leonard as the only player since 2000 to have 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries in their first 11 games. He also passed Byron Young, Aaron Donald, and Robert Quinn for most sacks as a Ram in their first 11 games. But they can't defend the run. They are a very good pass-rushing defensive line, but they cannot defend the run whatsoever, which is a big hole in their game right now. Again, they are all first, second-year players, I believe, maybe third, but I think just first and second. They will get better. They will get better over time. They will become better run defenders over time, and I still have the utmost confidence in them in general, but they're just not talented enough. The Ravens or the Rams team is just not talented enough to keep up with a team like the Eagles right now. They did their best. Again, they're still one game out of the division. It's anyone's division right now. We will see. But that is the Week 12 NFL recap. A bit of a longer one here. It was a little bit rambly at some points, but it was a good one. Thursday's episode, going to be a little bit of a weird one, and I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to format it. I'm going to Montreal on Thursday. Thursday's the day I usually record. And usually I do like the blind NFL recap, but it is Thanksgiving on a Thursday down in the States. So that means we have 3 NFL games starting at 12:30. And I don't know if I'm going to blind recap all of them or I can't do previews because I released it on Thursday. I think you might be getting 3 blind recaps and then the rest of the preview for the rest of the show. Weird NFL schedule. Because we have 3 Thursday games, we have the 1 mid-afternoon Friday game, regular Sunday slate, and then Week 14 we have 6 teams on bye. So should be good. I'm going to get the episode, I'm going to be recording at like 8 in the morning probably, and then making that drive to Montreal, but good episode, and as always, if you've liked this, please like, share, retweet, subscribe, tell all your friends, and until next time, peace.